we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast, hit us up in the DMs, throw a comment down one of the videos, Spotify or YouTube. Reach out to us on our DM, in the DMs, like I said, on X or Twitter, whatever it's called now. Instagram at the Bigmark Pod or at the Bigmark Podcast, and let us know if you want to hear something, if you want to hear about a certain topic, if you want to come on the podcast, whatever you want to do. Like, hit us up, let me know. And again, like I said in the comments too, start a conversation, keep the community growing. And, you know, again, like I've always said, I hope all these different facets and all these different topics and interests that we get into here on the Bigmark Podcast kind of attract a diverse crowd. And, you know, hopefully we get to learn a little bit more about each other and, you know, maybe interact with people that we might not necessarily find ourselves interacting with. So again, thank you all for being here. Hopefully that happens. That's the goal. But like I said, you know, if you do that and engage with us, that's the best way you could possibly support the podcast. And by listening and watching, whatever you're doing, if you wanted to go with that extra step, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/BigmarkPod. And there's a couple ways you can donate to us that way. So again, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you for being here and taking the time. And hopefully, if you know a little bit about the topic and the people and the person that we're going to be talking about today, hopefully you are also inclined. You're in the music scene, maybe even in the Hamilton music scene. But if not, I'd like to introduce you to well, it's run by one man, but a video production company called Southern Souls. They're super awesome, run by Mitch Fillion out of Hamilton, Ontario. And he specializes in shooting and capturing music in any way. And he does live shows I've seen, but he also does these great music videos essentially and kind of releases them on his channel, especially on YouTube, youtube.com/Southern Souls. Check it out there. You can check out his Instagram as well. But you can reach him at Mitch Fillion. And all his credentials are on his accounts there. But again, super nice guy. You know, I think he's in, you know, he's a younger guy. I think he's around my age, but I'm pretty sure actually we were at Cardinal Newman for a second. I went to Cardinal Newman for like literally one semester for my like grade 13 victory lap kind of thing. I'd had to do like 2 courses there just to bump up some marks to get some scholarships. Again, it was, you know, shout out to Canada and Ontario, at least. You know, you couldn't just get a free scholarship unless you got over 80. And obviously you're not really getting into any programs if you're not getting over 80. But again, I kind of had to just boost some marks there. Took an English class that summer too. Again, you know what I mean? Like, you do what you got to do. But I was at Newman for, like I said, a semester. I'm pretty sure he was there because I think he might be like a year younger than me or my age. But he might have been like in grade 12 when I was there. So anyway, I didn't stay long and I didn't really make a lot of friends. And well, actually that's not true. I did make a handful, but you know, I kind of was in and out of there real quick. And yeah, I mean, funny how paths cross, because like I said, when I was talking to Mitch actually at our last shoot with Reckless Harbor, my band Reckless Harbor, if you want to check us out on all socials at Reckless Harbor, you can actually see some of the work that we've done with Mitch and Southern Souls. Super awesome. I'll get into those videos a little bit later, but I remember talking to Mitch at our last shoot, and yeah, he was saying he went to Newman. I was like, oh, no way. I was kind of putting the pieces together. Like I said, I didn't think he'd remember me. I laid low in the sense of I didn't play any sports or anything. I was there so quickly, like didn't directly, I might have been in a class with him. Who knows? Regardless, what up, Mitchie? Thanks, brother. Thanks for everything you've done. You run a really tight ship. You do really well. I've worked with him in, we've done 4 songs, so 4 separate videos, but only on 2 kind of shoot days. And he was really, really good about letting us do it, because you're kind of also capturing live sound at the same time. So there's a lot of ins and outs with these videos, but super fun, and always a pleasure to work with. Like I said, we'll get into the nitty gritty of those videos in a second, but Mitch has worked with a bunch of amazing Hamilton bands and bands from around the area, like Golden Feather. He's worked with Spencer Burton. He actually did one of the latest videos is a video he did with Dave New World. They have really, really fun video, cool concept. So it's almost like, he's doing cool music videos, right? Like, it's so funny. As much music and MTV has kind of slowed down showing music videos, people still like them, and it's fun as a band to do them. And I think most people who have grown up watching much music and all those things, when you started a band, that's almost one of the things that you wanted to do, not the most, but you're looking forward to it. I know I've always looked forward to, doing a music video or thinking about concepts for a music video, because it is a cool expression of the song sometimes. Don't get me wrong, not every song needs a music video, and I don't think we should necessarily think about that. We should always put the music first, but like I said, I've always had a really cool, maybe not like I've always said, I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast, but maybe not. I've always had like a really interesting conceptual idea for a video for Warning Sign by Coldplay, which is always funny because you listen to songs, and I'm sure that there's actually a video for that song somewhere in the archives, but I always had this cool idea of like moving through a house and everyone's in different rooms, and I feel like that concept could actually work, with any song really. But again, it's fun kind of thinking about those things, and not only just shooting like a live music video where it's basically just a performance, which is also excellent, but again, Mitch just does a really great job at kind of making you feel comfortable and, doing that. He's worked with the Sky Diggers as well. And, I think he's starting to grow his portfolio a little bit more and kind of get a little bit more recognition and deserved. Because again, he's just like really, really easygoing. In our first shoot, we shot with him and his, one of his, cameraman, I guess you could call her, or just like an assistant at the time, or co-creator. I think his name was Justin, potentially. Anyway, sorry, but when we shot our first thing, it was him and this dude, and then the second time it was just him working all the cameras and doing everything, and he did great both ways. It's hard washing and drying and doing everything, but I guess you keep overhead low, and again, he can get the job done, and we've done it on a couple occasions. Like the first time we shot with him, we actually were like, where would be a good location? We kind of were thinking about few different places in Hamilton, and realistically, you do have to get like permits and things to shoot in public spaces or on private spaces or wherever. But as long as you kind of do it and don't get caught, you kind of get away with it. So we were kind of thinking about all these different places we could go, and there's the Hamilton Cemetery here is one of the largest municipal cemeteries, actually, so it's pretty grandiose, so it's hard to kind of like look over it at all times. But even with that, there's also this place called like the Sunken Gardens, which is like this little area down at the behind the cemetery area, where you kind of can drive down or walk down this like little path, or this little road, I should say, that takes you down into, there's a few more grave sites down there and little gardens, so to speak. And it's really interesting. So we were able to go down there. Anyone can kind of go down there, go check it out. And I was thinking, that would be an awesome place for us to shoot a video. So brought the band down, pretty much quiet. I think there was like a couple people there when we first got there, and then they left. And then there was another few people there visiting someone's grave. And we were like, fuck, like, we were worried about getting booked, not only by like the cemetery staff, but like potentially, police or whatever it is, like Hamilton property or whatever. But, we were doing it. But I think one of the things that we were more concerned about was, being irreverent or anything like that, like, disrespectful to the dead and those people's grave sites and things like that. So there was a family there, and we're like, oh no, like we were trying to stay out of their way, and they were just leaving and things like that. And we were warming up. We had all of our instruments out. And we were doing our thing, and you know, the I think it was a woman and her husband maybe. Anyway, pull over and you know, kind of wave at us, and we're like, oh, are they going to tell us to shut her down or something or whatever, fuck off or something? But she's like, hey, you know, my brother, because I guess they were visiting her brother's gravesite. My brother loved music, and you know, he would have loved what you guys are doing here. So that was really nice. That really, you know, touched all of our souls, so to speak. But it was so lovely and so nice and so reassuring, because, you know, it made us feel a little bit more comfortable where we were at. And there's these kind of cool steps where we were doing our thing. And it's kind of funny when you're doing outdoor music and trying to capture it and record it at the same time. It gets pretty difficult sometimes to capture, especially like acoustic instruments and things like this. Now, my bass is not an acoustic instrument. It is, you know, it had to be plugged in, and we were actually able to use like wireless rig. So it was like I had like a plug that emitted a signal to like a little recording device. So we were able to kind of work around the technicals of that, which was actually pretty easy, honestly. If everyone had strictly electric instruments, would have been interesting. But I'm pretty sure what we ended up doing is everyone had a lapel mic, and the lapel mic picked up the guitars and the banjos and the violin and all that stuff, including our voices as well. So it was a recording challenge, but the result is phenomenal. Everything sounds great. It looks great. The first song we did was Heavy Days, one of Lorden's songs. Really, really good. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. Streaming on all platforms, and go on YouTube too and check it out. It's on Southern Souls YouTube channel, like I mentioned before. YouTube.com/Southern Souls and YouTube.com/Reckless Harbor. You can go check out our, I think it's Reckless Harbor Band. But anyway, you'll find us there. If you just search for Reckless Harbor, you'll see those videos there. We also did our namesake of our latest album, Step Lightly, which is going to be coming out, depending on when you're listening to this podcast, May 30th next week. So really looking forward to that. Probably talk a little bit about it next week in celebration, getting ready for the big release, because we're going to be releasing, well, I guess technically it'll be the second EP, which is kind of like the rest of all of these songs that we recorded for our Step Lightly album. So that's going to be coming out, so you can go check out those videos. And then we did a whole other recording session in an undisclosed location. I refuse to give up my sources. We did 2 other songs there. We did Brighton Beach and Don't Burn the Dream, and Brighton Beach was really fun. It was interesting because I think we did this back in April maybe, or March. But it was like starting to warm up a little bit, but it's still, you know, we're not really out of the woods over here in Southern Ontario. And, you know, where we were shooting was like pretty subterranean, and it was like kind of shooting in like a fucking refrigerator. No breeze, no draft or anything, but just the cold stone and concrete was just fucking seeping through us. And when you're doing the shoot, you know, you kind of want to look cool and you have your nice clothes on and things like that. But like, we were kind of getting cold, and when you're shooting live and you're trying to capture the music live, you have to get through the whole song pretty much perfect. And you know, doing take after take after take, because you don't just want to like stop and warm up, so to speak, and then put your coat on and do all this shit. So, you know, it took us a little bit, and it took us a little while to kind of like mess with the lighting and things like that. But again, like I said, Mitch was great with that, and we figured it out. He had all kinds of tricks in the bag to kind of work around certain lighting things, and that one worked out really well. We kind of liked it, but it seemed a little bit more like kind of just like a straight performance. You know, it's like being at a concert, just kind of where we were. But the second video we did for Don't Burn the Dream, which is tremendous, we kind of switched up the arrangement a little bit of the song, and it's really, really nice and delicate. But where we shot it, same idea, where, you know, it's kind of only being shot from one angle, like you're watching us play live. The way kind of Mitch moved around us and changed the thing, and where we sat in this kind of in the building that we shot it in was almost like this hallway, and we kind of were like right in the middle of the hallway. We weren't near a back wall. We weren't near anything. There was kind of walls on either side of us, so it kind of creates this weird, and it's all wood. It's all kind of the same shade and color of wood. And it just gave this like really cool feel, but the song is beautiful. It sounds really good. That one we were able to do, actually both those songs, Brighton Beach included, we were able to do it with microphones sitting right in front of us. So we did capture really good sound, in my opinion. And I just like went right into the board as I do. But yeah, and also Mitch's graceful. Gracious, that's it. Mitch is gracious enough to allow us to kind of work on our own mixes and things like that as well, and we give it back to him. And he works really well with us, and he always has. And we're super grateful to do these things, and they're really, they are at the end of the day super fun to do. Yes, that last one was a little cold. And I mean, hey, the one that was out in the cemetery wasn't all that fucking hot either, but this is what it is, right? Like, you do these videos as a band, and they almost are these things that, you got to work a little bit to get them done, but once you have them done, they're amazing. We can kind of use snippets and bits and pieces here and there, but we wanted it to all kind of be part of this big package, if you will, this large kind of gift, if you will. This is the thing, it's hard to talk about this thing without sounding kind of fucking pretentious, but this is our music. We're happy about it. We're proud of it. We worked really hard. At making this album, and, putting all these different pieces together and doing live shows and trying to set things up and trying to play all these gigs. We want these things that are going to live a little bit longer. They exist in the world where they're more permanent, i.e. the album, i.e. all these videos, i.e. all these things that we're putting out into the world. We want them to be nice. We want them to be in this nice gift wrapped package. And these music videos definitely help with that. And Mitch does this for everyone. And again, I hope he's gaining more traction, and I hope he's putting all these pieces together that allow him to then go and work with bigger artists and do these things, because again, it's important at kind of every level. And, music is an interesting thing. It can be such a fleeting, ephemeral thing as far as how we listen to it. Yes, obviously most people listen to music through albums and things like that, but it only exists really in the human mind, like I've mentioned before. And, when you're listening to live music, that's the only time you're basically going to be hearing the way that music is played. Like, yes, of course, many bands play the same songs over and over again, but that night you never know what you're going to hear. It might be just a little different, might be a little better, might be a little worse. You never know. But again, music is a fleeting, ephemeral thing. But when you do put it down on wax, when you do put it down in this, bring it into this physical reality, it becomes something really cool. And again, I think these music videos, whether they're abstract or not, are a cool play on the musical form of art, where you can kind of work out some larger ideas or bring some of those ideas into like kind of the visual element. Now our videos have all been just basically straight performances. Actually, the ones shot in the Sunken Gardens in the cemetery have a little bit more movement. We just had a little bit more space to play with. But again, they're not abstract concepts, or, there's, when it comes to music videos, I mean, there's quite a large spectrum. Music videos could be like a straight concert, literally just like, oh, we're going to shoot the band doing a concert and we're just going to say that's the music video. Whether that concert's actually real or a stage concert, it's just like a straight performance, all the way to you're watching essentially a short film. The band might not even be in it. The song just happens to be kind of like the soundtrack of the visual portion. I mean, I remember back in the golden age of music video days, back in my day, you'd have music videos that had a 5-minute intro of just like actors acting out a scene. And it's just like watching, like I said, like a short film before it even got to the music, right? So I think, again, that's kind of the interesting thing with music videos and what Mitch is doing with Southern Souls. And again, he covers quite a wide variety of these styles, depending on what you want as a band too. If you're just a band watching this and you're interested in what Mitch does, get a hold of him, talk to him, reach out to him, and tell him what you're thinking. I'm sure he can help you bring that to life, kind of thing, right? So it's a really cool project. It's really cool, again, the Southern Souls whole mantra or their entire business model. I don't know. I don't want to, how do I find a middle ground between those two things? Their whole purpose and their whole mission is, again, trying to create these videos, and I want to see Mitch do well. So if you like the videos and you like what we do here at the Bigmark Podcast, go check out Mitch, go follow him. And if you're a band, go check him out. And if you like music, check out Reckless Harbor, check out all of our stuff too, and all these other bands that I mentioned tonight. Hamilton is a wonderful music scene. It's set out of Hamilton. Mitch knows his stuff. He knows great people, and he's a great creator. So check him out. Southern Souls, everybody. YouTube's, Instagram, same with us. You know how you do it. Love y'all. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Peace.